Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to this opinions video for last night's SmackDown. A lot of people are saying it was SmackDown of the year. It really did have some big moments, and so I'm really looking forward to getting into your thoughts, your opinions. So we've had 50 odd responses. All of these we need to try and get through. So we will obviously start chipping away at these. 50 odd responses is amazing. So a big thank you to everybody that has left feedback. And with that being said, let's get started. So Uncle Howdy's nephew said, yep, it was good, but I think Roman will be back for SummerSlam to set up some kind of match with the Bloodline. I have a feeling that he will team up with Punk because of the way they have been treating the wise man. I do wonder about this, and I said this during the live stream. I think there's two ways you can go with Roman coming back. You can bring him back as a face, you can bring him back as a heel. And I've got to be honest, if I was sat in a creative meeting, I think I would be advocating for him to come back as a heel, which might surprise people. And the reason why I say that is because when Roman comes back, there's going to be this massive pop, and people are going to be very excited to see Roman. And I think that if he comes back and saves Paul Heyman, I feel like you're giving the crowd two good things at the same time when you don't really have to, right? You could give them one good thing, which is Roman's back, and then later, like months later, you can give them another good thing, and that is Roman turning face. So if he comes back as face, as I said, I feel like you're giving two big things to the audience. And I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, so. But thinking from a booking point of view, you're always looking for talking points. You're always looking for moments. So it would be better to save that moment for a little further down the road, because we watch Raw, we watch SmackDown, we're watching the PLEs. You know, every time we tune into a show, we want a moment. We want a talking point. So it makes sense to just move that one a little bit further down the road. Plus, I also like the idea of Roman not knowing that there's problems. I like the idea of Roman seeing these new people, wondering what's going on, Solo going, it's fine, it's under control, you know, there's been a few changes whilst you've been away, I didn't want to bother you. And then Roman being okay. And then as he looks away, you've got Solo giving some looks to Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. And you've got like all this stuff that's clearly happening behind Roman's back, and Roman doesn't even know. And then it builds and it builds and it builds until they finally jump him, turn on him, and then boom, we're off down the other road then. So I do like that path, but equally, Roman could come back as a face, and we could go down that road as well. So both roads, I think, are viable. Both options are right there. It's just which way will WWE go. I would guess they will bring him back and bring him back as face. But as I said, I think I would advocate for the other direction. But Uncle Howdy's nephew, interesting thoughts, my friend. Eddie said Jacob Fatu is going to destroy the entire roster. The pop of Roman will be gigantic. Also, question about Chad. Do we think the Wyatt Six just want to hurt him? Just doesn't make sense for him to come back in kayfabe. He basically dead. Well, he didn't die. I mean, this is a misconception, is that people think that everyone died, but no one ever said that anybody died. So he hasn't come back from the dead, right? WWE, they said they don't want to do anything supernatural with this group. I certainly don't think they're going to be bringing the likes of Chad Gable back from the dead. It's one thing for a member of the Wyatt Six to die and then come back, because they may have supernatural powers like that, right? But apparently WWE doesn't want to go down those roads. So I think it's probably fine to say that these people were knocked out. They were incapacitated, right? They were unconscious, just like a boxer is when they get knocked out. So I think that's what we saw, that all these people basically switched off, all these people that were unconscious, but they weren't dead. So I think that Chad's coming back so soon as well, and being involved in that match, he's going to be jittery, he's going to be nervous, there's going to be all eyes on his segment, but I sort of feel like, is it not job done? I feel like he now is going to have to tread very carefully. I think the Wyatt Six have sent a message to him and to everybody, and I think it's in his best interest to not bully Otis, Akira, and Maxine anymore. It's probably in his best interest to be nice, polite, mind his manners. So it'll be very interesting to see how he reacts. I think if he keeps himself to himself, I don't know that they'll go after him again. If he doesn't, then we might see the Wyatt Six pay him another visit. Chris G said it was decent. Miguel said it is one of the best SmackDowns of the year. Badger Sprite said the post-WrestleMania lull is over, and that is official. KP said awesome. Drew got revenge on Punk. Chelsea Green on her way to winning Money in the Bank, and Jacob Fatu debuted. G. Cook said it was a brilliant debut. Looks like they're keeping the Bloodline and Wyatt Six storylines totally separate on different brands, which is pretty good in my opinion. Ryan said, great episode, masterfully packaged, despite less airtime, action-packed, with some unexpected upsets, all storylines developing, and we finally get to see Jacob Fatu and Drew, for me, the face of the company. Wow. I mean, I think that the Drew, both of these things, to be honest, happened a lot quicker than I thought. It was funny, I'd only been asked about Jacob Fatu shortly before he arrived, and I said, well, I don't mind waiting as long as when he arrives, we've got a reason for it. And there's a storyline for him. I certainly wasn't expecting it to be later on the same show. But, you know, no complaints from me. And I thought the way they brought him in, he looked vicious. I mean, he pretty much single-handedly dealt with Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. I mean, they need to push this guy to the moon. They absolutely need to push this guy to the moon. I feel like Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa have been getting into battles, really. Like, neither of them have kind of dominated or absolutely destroyed anyone. But I feel like that's exactly what Jacob Fatu should do. He's that bit bigger, isn't he? You know, he's quite comparable in size, I suppose, to Solo Sikoa. And apparently there is concern that he is going to overshadow Solo because he is better in the ring. He is very charismatic. He can cut very passionate promos. It does feel like Solo is like a good 3-5 years behind where Jacob is. And that makes sense because Jacob's got so much experience. So, yeah. It's going to be a ride, man. It's going to be a ride. Doug A-Hole said, great week for Raw and SmackDown. Jaden said, didn't mind SmackDown. Nice to see Fatu debut. Don't like the fact that Wyatt Six didn't show up, as it now looks like all it takes them is a bit of extra security. Well, I disagree with that, actually, because I didn't think that they would be on SmackDown. I think that they are Raw like exclusive, if you will. I think they're focusing their attention on Raw and maybe not spreading themselves too thin. I mean, in the world of WWE, everyone's really assigned to a brand. And I know that you can't really assign the Wyatt Six to a brand because they ain't going to listen. So I do think they should be free to pop up where and when they want. You know, they certainly shouldn't be following any rules. So had they showed up on SmackDown, it would have been fine. But I kind of thought that they would focus their attention on Raw, to be honest. I certainly don't think it was anything to do with the extra security. If the Wyatt Six weren't on SmackDown, it's because the Wyatt Six didn't want to be on SmackDown. I certainly don't think they were outside the arena going, what should we do? They've got extra security. Oh, we were going to do another massacre, but we can't now. They've got 5 extra security guards. So I don't think it was that bad. The Punk Drew visual was amazing. I love the fact he took the bracelet with AJ and Larry's name on. I had no idea what that bracelet was, to be honest. I think they should have done a bit of a better job of telling people what that was. Because I honestly thought in the moment where it was getting removed that it was a Connor's Cure bracelet, because that looked very similar to a Connor's Cure bracelet. But yeah, it was people in the chat that had to tell me it was an AJ Lee bracelet and a Larry the Dog bracelet. So I think they probably should have done a better job of kind of letting people know exactly what that should. Maybe he should have held it up to camera to have shown the AJ and the Larry. You know, maybe we could have communicated that a little better. But yeah, I mean, brilliant. He obviously got embarrassed in front of his fans in Scotland, and how brilliant that just a few days later he was able to repay that by embarrassing CM Punk in Chicago. So I don't think we're going to do this match at Money in the Bank, but it's hard to see how we won't now, unless CM Punk's going to be injured for a few weeks. But, you know, Money in the Bank's a few weeks away. I think it's like 2 weeks today, is it? Or 3 weeks today. It's not far. So how are we going to not do this match on that show? Because Drew CM Punk feels like it's SummerSlam. Feels like it's too big for Money in the Bank. Which is a crazy thing to say when you think about some of the big matches that we've done at Money in the Bank. But got to admit, man, it feels crazy to do this match at Money in the Bank rather than at SummerSlam. You could always do the rematch, I understand that. But it's the first time that we're going to see CM Punk in the ring. Because we saw him at Royal Rumble, but we haven't seen him wrestle any other match. So I feel like SummerSlam, that has to be the place for such a massive moment. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, to be honest. But good thoughts there by Jaden. Craig said, Jacob Fatu finally arrives. OMG, what an arrival. It was fun. Sam said SmackDown was great. Drew should go to jail for assaulting glorious CM Punk. Also, Punk's medically clear ? Roman coming back next week. Paul saying take me with you cracked me up overall. 5 out of 5. Pro wrestling was great this week, from WWE to NXT to AEW to TNA. Yeah, did he actually confirm that he was medically cleared? I don't remember him mentioning that, and that was the whole point of his promo. But then saying that he was interrupted by Paul Heyman, so I'm guessing that he didn't quite get medically cleared and then ended up getting attacked anyway, so he's certainly not medically cleared now. So I wonder if we're just going to write him off for a few weeks and then he'll come back maybe at Money in the Bank or just after Money in the Bank, and then we build towards SummerSlam. So it's an interesting one. That was the reason for his promo. Eric said it was a great SmackDown. Love the attention being on the Bloodline, and Solo is lying. You're a liar about Roman because Roman unfollowed Solo on IG. Very good. Yeah, he did. I'd forgot about that actually. So that is interesting. The only thing, well, I don't know that he's clearly lying because Roman is coming back, but maybe he's not lying because maybe they've had a falling out and Solo is now saying, no, he's not coming back. We're not going to actively bring him back. I've spoke to the family. He's not coming back. So maybe it's setting up Roman coming back on his own, of his own accords, as an outsider, as maybe not part of the Bloodline, maybe going against the family's wishes. That's interesting. He's got the whole world in his hands. Said, okay, I'm just going to say it. Jade Cargill is over. Over as in popular. We didn't really see much Jade Cargill, did we, tonight? She never actually made it out in the ring, did she? We saw her briefly backstage, but we didn't see her come out into the arena. I think Jade Cargill she's in an all right place. I think there's probably people that are not on board because, you know, she obviously botched the other day. Timing of a promo seemed a little off. I mean, she's gonna make mistakes because she really should be in NXT. But she looks like $1 billion. And she is at a certain level. I mean, obviously, she spent a long time in AEW. She's now done a few matches with Bianca as a tag team. So she's kind of at a certain level. I certainly don't think that she is out of place in WWE. It's just, is she on the right promotion? You know, should she be down in NXT instead? I don't know. It's a tricky one, that. It's tricky. And the problem is that you will have fans that aren't going to give her, like, the time to develop. Like, in their eyes, she was billed as this massive star, so she should be killing it right now. And it's maybe debatable as to whether she is or she isn't. That's one probably we need to talk about away from this video, because that feels like there's a bit more meat on that bone. Rico said, SmackDown gave us a little bit of everything. We were on the edge of our seats looking for Uncle Howdy. Drew massacred Punk. Jacob Fatu debuted. And each qualifying match kind of had surprising winners. Shenanigans were afoot. I like that. Quick turnaround to Money in the Bank, and the build seems good. Rico, love it, bud. Melanie said it was good. I mean, straight to the point. Esmeralda said, my jaw dropped when I saw the picture of Drew and CM Punk segment. I guess they both, Drew and Punk, hate each other so much. What will happen to the bloodline when Roman comes back? Will Roman take control, or will he fight against them? I'm surprised that Chelsea won. Well, I'm always surprised if Chelsea win, because they're an awful football team. But yeah, no, I think it makes sense, because I would imagine that Bianca and Jade will probably end up teaming and going back after the tag belts at Money in the Bank. Or do we start planting the seeds for them going against each other? It would feel too soon for me. I really don't think Jade's at the point where she needs to be going solo and in high-profile singles matches. So I've got to think the plan is that they go after those tag belts again. In regards to, and I don't think Michin was winning it, to be honest. So Chelsea, kind of by default, finds a way of getting through. So, yeah, we had that. And obviously we had Andrade, but we know that Kevin, Randy, they're going to be seemingly battling away and taking on the Bloodline. I mean, it seems like it's probably going to be Solo, Jacob, and maybe Tama. They don't seem to want to be using Tonga Loa very much. We haven't been seeing him have matches since he came in. I think he's there for the numbers, for the attacks. But if we're going to do a 6-man tag, then I'm guessing it'll be Tama, Jacob, and it'll be Solo taking on Randy, Kevin, and Cody. Although the community did also say during our live stream, you can put Tonga Loa into that. And then on the other side, why not bring in a returning Jimmy Uso? Which I thought was a very interesting thought, to have Jimmy come back as a face. And he could side with Kevin, with Randy, with Cody. And you've got Jimmy in that, taking on Solo, Jacob, and the Gorillas of Destiny. It feels like we're heading that way. So that would explain why Kevin and Randy didn't make it into Money in the Bank, you know? So, yeah, I agree. Shenanigans afoot. Will he fight, or will he join with the Bloodline? Yeah, we don't know. We spoke about that earlier. Is he going to fight against them? Is he going to join up with them? We just don't quite know at this point. But I think both options are on the table, but it's probably more likely that he comes back and fights against them, I would say. Tritson Mitchell said, Bloodline, predictable ending. Brandon, shout out to you. Alex said, best SmackDown of the year so far. One of the best SmackDowns of all time. It's Jenkins said, I thought it was an amazing show. 9 out of 10. Maybe a few more Pluto logos, but great. NVRNDS said, great, this was the best week of TV WWE had in years. Wow. Gaz said, really good SmackDown. Although I think they made a mistake not having the Wyatts on the show. Happy that Chelsea got the dub. Would love it if she won Money in the Bank. I think she would be epic with the briefcase. 8 out of 10. Malibu said this was an absolutely amazing SmackDown. It was probably one of the best SmackDowns I've seen in months. My favourite part is when Drew carried CM Punk out to the ramp and he was covered in blood. Colton said, could have been better in my opinion. Jacob Fatu debut made up for the stuff that the show lacked tonight. Would be interesting to know, Colton, what you felt the show lacked. What do you think the show lacked tonight? Maybe a banging match? You know, could we have turned up the in-ring action a little bit more? I did feel like the matches we got all mattered, though. You know, you've got to remember, it's not that long ago. Go back a few years, we were getting things like Happy Corbin versus Apollo Crews. You know, just matches that you just, oh my God. It kind of felt like, well, we got to do something with these guys. But we didn't really get any of those kind of matches. In fact, I would say that all of those kind of matches have drastically been turned down under Triple H. Coco said one of the best episodes of SmackDown this year, from Jacob Fatu debuting to Drew taking out Punk. This SmackDown was an all-timer for sure. Bailey said, not just about SmackDown, but this week in WWE is probably the best week WWE have had in years. No show was less than 8 out of 10. Howdy's going to get, you said, quite a packed show. It's okay, Wyatt 6 wasn't on, and I don't think WWE want to do overkill. But Money in the Bank qualifiers were good matches. Jacob Fatu arriving, keeping that Bloodline story going, and him attacking Cody. I'm hoping for Bloodline versus Wyatt 6 in the future. That would be awesome. Cammy said, hello, Daze. Hello, Cammy. I thought SmackDown was a solid show. The Triple H era is showing itself every week. Money in the Bank pay-per-view should be a really good watch. There is a bit of everything and everyone watching. The momentum and morale backstage must be very high in a good way. 9 out of 10 and on to Raw we go. Ethan said, just absolutely outstanding. Hunter really cooked it this week. Drew is back, took out Punk, peed Chicago off. Jacob Fatu debut. Wyatt 6 have their eyes on Cody. Just incredible. Can't wait for Raw. WWE is goated. 100 out of 100. Ethan is absolutely loving it. Love to see it. Ultranic said it was a great SmackDown. The Wyatt 6 package was spot on with the attention to detail. Drew taking out CM Punk and Jacob Fatu, the werewolf, causing a riot. They did call him that, didn't they? The werewolf. Michael said 9 out of 10. I loved how Raw, NXT and SmackDown this week had massive returns and debuts. It's a fantastic week. People are really bubbling, man, about the not just this show, but this past week. Big Dan said one of the best SmackDowns in a long time. Top to bottom, it was filled with ooey gooey yummy. Ooey gooey yumminess. Ooey gooey yumminess. Stories beefed up for Money in the Bank and beyond. Qualifying matches were all chef's kisses. Solo continues to grow, and Jacob Fatu made the Bloodline feel like a main event again. Joseph said, I thought this week's SmackDown was amazing. Fun triple threat Money in the Bank qualifiers. The debut of Jacob Fatu was incredible. The CM Punk segment was so good. But please, Roman, come back and save your wise man. Love the content, Days. Keep it up. Joseph, shout out to you, my friend. Orton said it was great. I loved the vignette with the Wyatt 6 and Jacob Fatu showing up. Watson, it was perfect. Qualifying matches were unpredictable, but they had the right choice of winners. Then the arrival of Jacob made him look like a star straight away. Drew and Punk rivalry has gone to a new level in the last 7 days. Triple H is cooking real good. Is this the best week in WWE ever? ? Said Watson. Harley said, this has been one of the best SmackDowns I've seen and one of the best weeks in WWE history. So much happening, so many huge story beats converging and being shown. I haven't stopped thinking about SmackDown, Raw and NXT all week. Adam said it was good, maybe a little let down with a spectacular Raw. Will be interesting to see who Cody gets to combat the Bloodline and new member Jacob Fatu. Leaping Lucha Larry said, great show, great week really. Jacob debuting was the icing on the cake. This whole week has felt like a season premiere as they begin the road to SummerSlam. The last few months since WrestleMania have been kind of dull, but I have a feeling we're in for a wild ride over the next few months. Do you know what? I kind of feel like the Nightbird ended and WWE have gone, right, we better turn this back up again now. QR codes were doing it. Everyone was buzzing due to Nightbirds and Wyatt 6 and the arrival of the group. And as soon as the group came in, they're like, right, let's cook. Let's cook. And I think you're right. I think we're on the road to SummerSlam. And listen, we saw how big the road to WrestleMania was. I don't think the road to SummerSlam is going to be as big or as dramatic because, you know, there's certain things that went down there that kind of went in a direction that we didn't expect them to go, and I don't think they expected them to go. So, you know, there's a whole lot that went on the road to WrestleMania. I don't think we get anything as rich or as deep as that. I don't think we get like a big "We Want Cody" campaign and all that stuff. But even so, the road to SummerSlam should be a hell of a lot better than what we've been seeing in recent weeks and months. Right. Yeah, so David said this show was outstanding. They have so many good storylines. They can give Money in the Bank slots to people who need a boost, like Green and Mello. Jacob Fatu is taking over somebody's bloodline at some point. Just a matter of time. Also, the Dub 6 recap was great. I am primed for Monday Night Raw. When I saw Dub 6, I thought you was on about WrestleMania 6. I was like, they did a recap of WrestleMania. What, Hogan Ultimate Warrior? They did a recap. Wyatt 6. Right, Tribal Chief said, stacked and fantastic SmackDown tonight. Jacob Fatu debut. Drew destroyed Punk in his own hometown. Solo lied. So next week, maybe we get something big since it's MSG. Maybe something related to Roman. I didn't know it was MSG next week. Or related to Wyatt 6. Wyatt 6 could target Solo, in my opinion, 9 out of 10. I think they're going to be on Raw, personally, so I don't know that they're going to be going over to SmackDown. Plus, also, technically, he hasn't lied yet. He said Roman hasn't come back, and Roman hasn't come back. Or Roman's not coming back, and he hasn't, so he is technically at this point not a liar, so I don't expect them, and they weren't on the show this week. I don't think we'll see them next week. I think they're Raw exclusive now, but that's very interesting about Madison Square Garden. That's very interesting. Ian said it was brilliant, solid 8. I was a bit disappointed not to get the Wyatt 6, but it certainly left me hyped for Monday. Wonder how long Nick Aldis can maintain high security. Michael said it was so predictable. I could tell who was going to win before some of the matches. Only one I was surprised about was the women's triple threat. Also, see why we didn't get the Wyatts if they're building a new bloodline, as that is a dangerous faction right there. Greg said, absolutely brilliant. I love the fact Mello, Andrade, and Chelsea qualified. You could argue each were underdogs to qualify. Drew brutalizing Punk and just dumping him in the arena. And Jacob Fatu debuting was chaotic. Outstanding episodes. Randall said, as tough as it would be to follow the excitement of Raw, I think they did well. Quality matches, a debut, and a massacre of sorts earlier in the show. Jasmine said, I love the ending. The Samoan werewolf is here on SmackDown, and they're in trouble. This man is a beast. I actually didn't know that was his nickname, the Samoan werewolf. But then I only watched a few of his matches because there's been a lot of hype around him for a long time. So throughout the years, I've just checked out a few of his matches when he was in MLW. So I'm aware of his work. I've seen some of his promos. But yeah, I'll be the first to admit I've got plenty of learning to do when it comes to Jacob Fatu. I'm very excited to find out more. Harry said, good to see you, mate, and you, mate. Great episode. I said to myself, did you? If they're waiting or if they're wanting Bloodline versus Bloodline at Survivor Series, they're gonna have to start debuting new members quicker and fast. And look who we have already. Harry, I need to know, did you sit there and actually say that to yourself? I hope so, because the visual of that is just, it's delightful. It's delightful on a Mary Poppins level. Do you think we get Zilla debuting? If not, who else? I just don't think we need any more, to be brutally honest. I feel like we're full. I mean, if you've got Solo, Jacob, and the Gorillas of Destiny with The Rock as the leader of that group, then on the other side, you have the Usos, you have Roman, how many are we looking at there? I mean, I feel like we've got a couple of spots. You could easily put Sammy back in that group, because I think that would be awesome, because you're kind of reuniting the bloodline from a few years ago, only this time they are faces. Solo, I think, would have to go on the other side, wouldn't he? Maybe there's a spot. There's loads. I mean, honestly, you've got we were looking at Juicy. We were looking at Juicy during the live stream. That's another one. Obviously, as you say, you got Zilla, Fatu, you got Lance and Hawaii. I mean, there's just loads. The Hawaii family is so big, and it feels like every member of that family gets into wrestling. So, but I do like the idea of Sammy coming back at some point. Certainly if we're going to be closer towards Survivor Series. And I know that Sammy's on a different brand, but it's never stopped us in the past. It's never stopped us before, and it shouldn't stop us now. I think Roman, Sammy, Jay, Jimmy, all joining back up to try and bring down this new bloodline. That could be sick, man. That could be sick. So I would definitely look something like that. Maybe there's room for someone else to come in, but I don't know. I feel like if we just keep bringing people in, we're not going to be really getting to know them. I feel like the original bloodline was so good because we learnt loads about them. Whereas with this bloodline, you know, what do we know about Tama Tonga? What do we know about Tonga Loa? We don't really know much about them. And now Jacob's come in. What do we know about him? We don't really know much about him. So I really want to spend a bit of time finding out about these people, fleshing out their characters, rather than just keep constantly bringing ooses into the business for the sake of it. Jimmy said, fantastic. One of the best episodes of the year, if not the best. Raymond said, I honestly thought SmackDown tonight was 8 out of 10. Got to see the Pluto logo behind Cody and the glitches with Adam's tweet about Chad Gable. Otherwise, can't wait for Monday Night Raw. Chris said, I haven't seen an entire show yet, but it seems like Bloodline drama is setting up Roman's comeback to rescue Paul Heyman and take on Solo and put him in his place. When Paul asked CM Punk to take him with him, if Punk leaves, talk about a babyface moment. Yeah, but like, he didn't leave, did he? Like, CM Punk had a choice of basically leaving and rescuing Paul, or staying and fighting, and he decided to stay and fight. He decided to call out the... I thought that was a strange moment, because he sort of threw Paul under the bus a little bit there. That was one that just sort of bugged me a little bit, because, like, if Punk and Heyman have got such a special relationship, I'd like to think that Punk would do whatever he needed to do to help Paul. And if Paul said, please leave, but take me with you, like, I was surprised he didn't go, actually. You know, and then make it clear, I only did this because you asked, Paul. Like, and don't ever ask me to walk away from a fight again. You could easily have saved face, but obviously, you know, they didn't want Punk to be seen to be running away from a fight. And also they want to keep building up the pressure and the tension that Paul is under. But I did think that Punk did him sort of dirty in that moment, you know? CCK Alex said, being there in person, it was a really solid episode. People are getting exposure and chances, which is nice. It was hectic in a good way. CCK Alex, glad you enjoyed it. It came across really well on TV. And actually, look at some of these moments. Gio the Fio said, might be the best episode of SmackDown in a good few weeks. We've had so many great moments. There's Heyman and Punk, Chelsea winning, the Punk and Drew moments, Jacob arriving. So there we go. Some big moments this week. And Paul Stewart said matches were good, though we might have seen more regarding the Wyatt 6. I have a feeling next week regarding Gable win, despite injuries and something big happening at Money in the Bank. So you think Gable wins, he goes to Money in the Bank, and then what, the Wyatt 6 attack again? Something like that? I just can't make my mind up as to whether they're done with him now. I really don't know if that's it, and they are done and they've sent their message. And really, it's going to come down to how Gable acts from this point. I mean, if he's going to be a bit more humble, maybe they'll leave him alone. If he's going to be a heel and brag about it, maybe they'll go after him again. You could absolutely be right. Michael said, after what happened on Raw with the Wyatt 6, they address and the begin and the end, it was all right. I didn't think Chelsea would win a match in WWE. That surprised me. And I really liked the debut of Jacob Fatu. That was unreal. So there we go. You lot really seem to enjoy this. I do have the scores. I can tell you that Grayson against Andrade against Kevin Owens, that got a good 98%. Tama Tonga against Carmelo against Randy, that got a good 97%. We didn't score the Cody main event because it was so short. Really, it was just a way of setting up the Jacob arrival. In the first match, Michin, Bianca, Chelsea got a good 95%. So I would say that this show lacked in-ring in the sense of like a great match. Something that really kind of stood out. I think there was some surprise wins. This show had plenty of talking points, had a debut. I mean, I feel like we're definitely around, for me personally, that kind of 8 mark, maybe 825. I think that I would definitely need like banging matches. Definitely need some great matches in there to, and you know, just maybe a couple of little things that I would tweak and change during the show. As I said, like, did Punk do Heyman a bit of dirty at the start? You know, I felt like there was some big moments that never paid off, in the sense of Heyman when he said, "Take me with you." That was such a big moment, OMG moment. But then moments later, he's backstage with Solo in the locker room. So it never actually developed. It never actually progressed. A little bit the same as like Solo saying to Paul, like, Roman's not coming back, Paul. You know, big message, big statement. We didn't obviously get anything more than that. Paul was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And then Solo walked away. We didn't get a chance to flesh that out. I'm sure, clearly we will. You know, next week, Paul's probably going to ask Solo, what did you mean when you said that? Hopefully we'll find out a little bit more. So, you know, it set things up for the future, which is fine. It's good. But I just think I would have liked a little bit more. Like, it would have been good if he'd have said that at the start of the show, and we could have maybe had an opportunity to have explored it during the show. And I do agree, like, maybe a QR code would have been good. Maybe a few more little things in the background, 'cause outside of a Pluto symbol and Jason Baker, who, you know, I don't know that they brought him in as a little Easter egg. I think he was just there. So, well spotted, but I don't think that was anything. So really, it was just one Pluto symbol on a door, as far as I'm aware. But could we have not had the puppets in the background? Could we have not had some spooky in the background? Could we not have done a quick little QR code to say, see you Monday? So for me, this is why I'm not like 10 out of 10, you know, all that kind of stuff, getting too carried away. I think for me, I'm looking at like an 8.25, something around that ballpark. But I completely agree with everyone. This is absolutely, undeniably, one of the best SmackDowns of the year. So there we go. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We've gone a little longer than we usually would, but we had a few more responses than we usually get. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great weekend. I'm sure I will see you at points. Of course, I'll try and do some videos, maybe do a stream or something. I'm not quite sure. I am actually out on Saturday at the time of recording this. So I am away from home for a little bit. So I'll have to see what we can do and what we can get out. But regardless, have a great weekend. I'll certainly be seeing you on Monday at the very least, as we obviously get ready for the next chapter in the Wyatt 6 story. And we may even do a Wyatt 6 stream tomorrow. Have to wait and see, though. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the feedback. Bye for now.